Hi, it's the end of week 3 of the University of Southampton and British Council Understanding Language course on Futurelearn. And I'm Josh, and it's my turn to do the end of week review. So this week we've been talking about language learning online and how this might be different to language learning in a co-located physical environment or offline, perhaps. And I think we've quickly realized that there are many, many different ways to learn online, just as there are many, many different ways to learn face-to-face. And the context or the ecology of resources you have available and the ways you can interact in any of these environments will influence how well you can learn or how you can learn. I think we should start to talk about the affordances or the opportunities for interaction and what these mean in terms of opportunities for learning, and try to specify these according to any particular environment in which we are learning. And I think that relates to a question that Bruce asked early on this week, which was, what is the evidence that technology can help us learn language or learn language better than learning without the technologies? And that is an interesting question, and I think relevant to all kind of educational research, where certain strategies or technologies or ways of working may work in one particular context or setting, but not in another. So we need to look carefully at under what circumstances anything may or may not work. And often it's the teachers and the learners in a particular kind of setting who will best understand what the possibilities are and what is likely to work better. Of course, we do need to look at research and what other people have done to inform our hypothesis about how to help one another learn. And I think I've linked to some of the best sources that I know of for research on language learning with technology in response to Daniel's question at the end of this week. One place I would look at is Scott Thornby's article on what educational technology should be looking to support, drawing on ideas about second language acquisition research and what is supposed to be good for language learning. And that's rather similar to what we were talking about last week in terms of motivation, creating a friendly, conducive to learning environment, and giving people meaningful opportunities to use language and be exposed to language. You can look at this in terms of connectionist learning, which we've been discussing a lot. And I was pleased to see lots of people like Jeanette and Richard sharing their ideas, emerging ideas about what connectionist learning might be and whether they agreed with it or not. My own thinking is really rather muddled when it comes to connectionist ideas, although I find some things very appealing. But I think the key question for me in my reading of this is, well, the question about where knowledge is located. Is knowledge located in your head, or is it distributed through the environment? And I think with respect to language learning, maybe if we think about the fabled Babel fish, the technology that enables you to listen to one language and simultaneously have it translated and be able to respond, you speaking your own language, but it being translated into someone else's language, where does the knowledge about the two languages reside? If you're able to do that, are you able to speak another language? Do you know how to speak the other language? Or is it the machine that speaks the other language? Or is it some combination of distributed intelligence between you? So that's my slightly muddled thinking. But I think it's also interesting to think in terms of connectionist learning about agency and who controls and directs the learning. And that links to a conversation that Elena and others have been having about self-directed learning and the role of the tutor, who should inform where the learning goes and what to do next, and the syllabus and the curriculum. And they mentioned Sugata Mishra's work with the hole in the wall schooling and the school in the cloud, which I've linked to. And I find that very interesting and appealing, the fact that you can connect to resources that help you learn and maybe don't even need the teacher to know how to use or control those resources. So there is an interesting language futures project where the teachers don't necessarily even speak the language that the students are learning, but they help them connect with resources, other people that can help them learn those languages. So finally, well, not quite finally, we were talking a bit about the role of tutors online. A lot of us feel that our core roles, helping the students to learn, creating an environment that's conducive to learning, remain the same. Jeanette pointed out that a lot of the conversation kind of was thinking about online learning as large groups, but of course a lot of people are doing one-to-one tutoring online, and maybe roles are very different then as well. And to return to the role of the tutor in a different way. What about the assessment of learning, and who sets the standards and the criteria for assessing that? That's something that we came to in the Facebook Live conversation, which I very much enjoyed. Quite a few interesting questions coming from the audience. How do you assess online? What is the value of assessment? What is a valid assessment? These are interesting questions to think about. And being online perhaps helps us inspect those ideas again. So finally, linking to that, next week is all about the future of English. And I think it's very interesting to think there about, well, who sets the standards and the criteria for what is or isn't English or good English, and what norms to conform to. So I really look forward to seeing what you all have to say about that next week. Thank you for listening to me, and I hope it's clear and loud enough. There will be a transcript at some stage. Bye.